Hi, this is Alexandra Kitty, your hostess for Clue Chronicles, Crime Code and Clues. I'm glad to do this. I like to do this every week, but when you're starting a new company, there's so much you can talk about. So over the next little while, I'll be talking about some of the other upcoming games that I'm doing. One will be a mystery fiction one, and the rest are, of course, true crime. But I want to talk today about, particularly this applies to Canadian gaming companies or companies in general, and that's the scam of government grants. And there is no other word to describe this. It doesn't matter if you're talking municipal level, provincial level, federal level. This is just a scam. And I'm going to talk about this on multiple levels. But for you to get a sense of the scaffolding, I'm going to talk about and the psychology behind these grants. I'm going to talk about my university days. For those of you who don't know me, I am Alexandra Kitty, author of 21 books before I decided to go into gaming. My undergraduate degree is in psychology from McMaster University. I won the Arch Award for career achievement from there. And I graduated summa cum laude. And then I went on to get my master's degree in journalism from Western University. But I want to talk about my days at Mac because I was a psych student, experimental psychology. My undergraduate thesis was in psychoacoustics, and I did a lot of things. I did research on propaganda, which eventually in 2020 became my book, Mind Under Siege, Mechanisms of War Propaganda. But before all that happened, one of the classes I took in university, I believe it was in third year, was a pigeon lab. So they have you up with a partner, and the two of you have to train a pigeon for a semester. I took mine home. She was number 27. Her name was Petunia. After the experiments were done, I took her home. So I'm going to tell you about Petunia. She was this very smart pigeon. So when you get the pigeon, they put them in cages. So they're in a room in a basement, and you know your pigeon by its number 27. I'll never forget. And they tell you have to keep this pigeon at 80% of its body weight. So in other words, you have to starve this pigeon. You have to train this pigeon in darkness, and you also have to use white noise. So not to distract the pigeon. So I had a partner. She was nice. I'm not going to say anything. She was a smart girl. She was very nice. But she really had no idea who I was. I was all over the place conducting experiments, not just in the classroom, outside the classroom. So unbeknownst to her, I was conducting extra experiments on our pigeon, challenging the status quo. And I got careless because I forgot that I was doing my own separate experiments. And she goes, your numbers are not aligning with mine. And, that's because I'm doing my own experiments on this pigeon when you're not around. That's what I did. Because I didn't believe for 1 second that you had to keep this bird starving. So I decided, okay, sorry, having a little issues I'm getting over. So I said, okay, I'm going to do everything the opposite. I fed my bird to about 110%. So my pigeon was fat. And I never trained her in darkness. I never used white noise. And I used to baby talk to her. So every time she did something good, I'd say, yay, good girl, Petunia. And I never had to say anything else. She did things very, very quickly. So fast and so good she was that we finished a month early. So we finished the class over 4 weeks early. So I said to my partner, are you taking her home? Well, she was like, I live on campus. I can't. So I said, great. I live off campus. At home, I am going to take Petunia with me. So I took the pigeon with me, but I couldn't keep her. This was the problem. I had a large canary cage, which was a huge step up from what she had, because I knew that they were going to. I asked my professor, what do you do with the pigeons? Oh, we dispose of them humanely, which is we murder them. And I'm a bunny hugger. And I said, you're not murdering my pigeon. I'm taking her home. So I took Petunia home. I had a French Angora long-haired rabbit named Paulina, and the two of them got along really well. But we were in the process of moving from a condo to a house. And this was a brand new house. They just were still finishing it off. We moved our stuff in, and we took Petunia with us. The problem was some knucklehead left a running truck in front of our house. So we almost died of carbon monoxide poisoning. We put the pigeon out on the balcony, and we had to escape, barely escaped. And then we had to leave because we had to let the air out. And when we came back, Petunia was gone. What had happened was the same knucklehead that almost killed us with the running exhaust of the truck. I thought that she was a wild pigeon, didn't see the tag on her, and let her go, which you would have thought, oh, shoot. But Petunia took to two doves who sort of took her in, and there was a huge wheat field, and she did fine. She kept visiting. Although she was only with us one night in this new house, she kept coming back. She would visit. She did really well. So for the years I lived there, she was fine. So it was interesting. So here's a pigeon that was trained well by me. She was shown love. She was shown kindness. She was not isolated. I used to go multiple times a day in the basement just to talk to her, and she did exceptionally well. But that 80%, at that time, they never actually told us why this magic number of 80%. Why do you keep somebody starving at 80%? Instead of just giving them 100% or a little more than 100%, and you get things done better and faster if there's no 80% but 100%. So I graduated and I became a journalist. And for those of you who know me, you know my escapades in that method research. But let's talk about the grants now. So when I started my company, klueiq, I said, okay, I have to apply for grants for businesses. And every single one, didn't matter what level, they only gave you 80% funding. So immediately I know this is not, it's not an arbitrary number. It's a psychologically manipulative number. 80%, you keep them starving. So that it's the idea of scarcity. So when you're talking about scarcity and you're talking about 80%, as soon as you hear the number 80%, you know this is psychological manipulation. So this isn't a grant to get you your business going. This is a grant to keep you in check. So it's 80%. So first, this is a big red flag. It doesn't matter what level, in Canada, where it's going to be 80% because that's the way they can manipulate you. You're going to be constantly having to chase for that 20 instead of comfortably, okay, I have 100%. I can start this first year and I can, get the equipment I need, get any subscription I need, hire anybody I need, and away I go. But and so you fill out the forms, but it's very opaque. There's no transparency here. So you can go, okay, I didn't get this grant. Why not? They don't really tell you. Actually, they don't tell you at all. It's like, okay, you didn't get it. Okay, why? I hit all the check marks. So you have to have this, and this, and you have to spend a day filling out these forms. This is a job. This takes hours. So they've wasted hours of your time and they take their sweet time. And then when you say, well, what is it? You have to pretty much shake and rattle, and it will always be some opaque reason. It will not be like, okay, here's a list. Here's all the check marks you reach, and here's these that you don't. It's always after the fact reasoning. And I mean, it's a scam. So even if you get a grant, they can renege it at any time without telling you why. And they don't have to tell you who got the grant and why. So there's no transparency here. But these programs take more to run than the money they proclaim to give. So, for example, you have to go a lot of times to meetings. So these drop-in meetings with these programs. And every single one is the same. They'll have 5 people working for the government. 2 of them will be talking. 3 of them will just stand around like dummies. And they won't say or contribute. But each of them, you're pretty sure, are on the sunshine list, and some of them are. So you have people who are pulling in 6 figures. And for a grant, that might be $5,000. Some of them are more, some of them are less. But the gatekeeping here is something to behold. It's very cloistered. And a lot of times they'll go, we will speak with you before you apply. This is also very much a scam. So recently I had to do one for a local one. But I mean, they had no idea why I was applying. Because it was funny. I applied for one thing through klueiq. And then someone said, well, it's not this, it's not that. Very opaque reasons given. But we have like individual artists, which normally should have been a no, except I'm a kintsugi artist. So I said, okay, I'm going to apply. But this, and then you have to meet with someone and somebody keeps, in the email saying, no, well, I don't think you qualify, although you didn't apply yet, and you didn't say what you're doing. So they sit there, they try to pull stuff out of you, and that's the reason why you're probably not going to get it. No, because you've rigged it. You have your little friends or your little Nepo babies or your little cronies. That's who's going to get this grant. And this is why you don't tell people who've gotten, you don't inform people who've gotten this. You don't explain why. You don't give data-driven reasons why. Because you're used to people saying, they're not going to challenge you because they're afraid if they say no, they'll never get a grant again. They don't understand they never will get a grant. This is wallpaper to make it seem like the government's doing something for you with your own tax dollars that they're not actually doing at all. And it doesn't matter if it's a local level, municipal, provincial, or federal. They have their favorites, their friends, and that's who gets it. They can say you qualify. You can go through a vetting process and they can say, yes, this person's qualified. You look through the checklist. You run it through a paid AI subscription and you go, okay, what am I missing here? And it's nothing. You perfectly qualify. You should get this, except you don't. So, you can, okay, I have this done professionally. Make sure I can check all the boxes because I'm not going to spend the day filling out forms for no reason. So the nerve of asking people to fill out things that they damn well know they will never get is a scam. And because it's a scam and it's a government-run scam, what is your recourse? Can you sue them? Can you change the laws? Can you lobby? Because why do we have these programs? They're make-work programs for the public sector, nothing else. So when you were looking at companies starting something new and innovative, they can't really go through it. And which leads me to the other end of the equation. What about the politicians? Why don't you reach out to them? Well, I did a little experiment recently and I blogged about it, and I'll leave links to 2 articles I wrote on my website on this podcast. So I wrote to 11 different politicians in Canada, from Mark Carney all the way up to my local MPP. So for you Americans, that is my congressperson, my local representative. So I wrote 11 letters, and they weren't rude. I said, okay, here I am, a female tech startup founder. What is it that the government has for people like me? What programs? I'd like to discuss this. Every single one, I said, okay, from my premier of my province to my prime minister to my representatives provincially and federally to cabinet ministers, provincial and federal. Okay, you 11 people whose office costs collectively at the very least $7 million a year to run. I'd like to talk to you in person. So what do you think was my success rate? 0. Most of them never answered. One local MPP said, well, we need to know if you reside in the riding. Yes, here's my address. I reside in my riding. They never heard from them again. My local MP, Ned Kirk, never got back to me. My local MPP, Neil Lumsden, never got back to me. One did. And this was funny. He was an MP in the Niagara region, and Tony Baldinelli. And I was supposed to meet him on a Friday. Okay. I heard from his office about 6 weeks later. Okay, fine. I'll meet you. And then came, well, it was at 11 o'clock. Can we move it for 1 o'clock? Okay, no problem. So because I have a subscription with a Perplexity Max, one of the perks was that it links to your calendar and it links to your email. So it sent an email on my behalf to this MP and saying, okay, you have a meeting with Miss Kitty tomorrow. I'm the AI assistant. All of a sudden, next day, he couldn't make it. He canceled the meeting. I mean, just left me in a lurch. I had to move my schedule around to drive all the way there to meet him, and he canceled them. And then I hear again, okay, can we reschedule this I emailed back. I said, what? If you can't meet me from person, you can't speak to me online for 15 minutes? So then I heard again, okay, we'll do it. We'll give you an hour on another date, which they promptly, without reason, canceled again. So, and I've never heard an apology. I have never heard anything back from this man. So it didn't matter which political party, NDP, Liberal, Conservative. It didn't matter if they were opposition, if they were in power, if they were a cabinet minister, or if they were rank and file. They did not get back to me. I didn't write some sort of crazy person letter with unrealistic expectations. I said, okay, you're my representative. What are you going to do to represent? Nothing. So this is where we are. We're in a country where you have no program for a regular person to start a business. You can complain to the people you put in power through your vote, and they will ignore you. So this is where Canada is, and in the middle of a trade war with the United States, and they think they're going to get somewhere. If you're and the worst thing, you have a prime minister, Mark Carney. Oh, this is a budget, a sacrifice. That's a nice way of saying that you're incompetent and you want people to get used to it. Mr. Carney, that's not going to happen. Civil servants don't understand the servant part. They don't understand that your taxes pay their bills. They're not the ones in charge. They have been given the gift of overseeing things. That's not the same as wearing a paper crown. And yet we have here programs made up, grants that are made up. They're totally made up. And then you have a whole bunch of people working. They're doing absolutely nothing. They're taking tax dollars for themselves. They expect you to pay more taxes and get less and be fairly happy with it. So where does this leave me? Well, you know me. Move. I don't stop. So I'm working with my own business model, knowing full well that this 80% deal is not my bag. And that I'm not playing around with these games, nor am I keeping quiet about them. I, for years, said, there's problems in journalism. There's problems in journalism. And then finally people go, oh, wow, there's problems in journalism. Well, there's problems with government grants. They don't actually exist for people unless they know somebody in government. And if that's not true, then let them open their books saying, okay, here are the people. This is the data-driven reason why they got the grant, and this is the data-driven reason why these people didn't. But you won't get that from. So this is Alexander Kitty. I hope you enjoyed my podcast. And next week, we'll be talking about some of the new games coming up. Till then, if you like what you hear, subscribe, like, share, and comment. And I will see you next time. Ta-ta for now.